You gave up being Batman to save Dick Grayson. But perhaps you also gave him up because you never faced why you became him in the first place.
What's in there? I remember something chasing me.
That place is strong with the dark side of the Force. A domain of evil it is.
Evil! Evil!
Grandpa, you said that about all the presents.
I just want attention.
From the deepest, darkest recesses of Dangerous Nerds headquarters, Keith Moncrief and Gerry Kissel.
Welcome to another episode of Pop Culture Minefield. That's Keith.
That's Gerry.
And we're here to talk about some nerd stuff. And of course, the nerdy nerd stuff we're going to be talking about today is about the Variety article that we both saw. And we talked about Joel Schumacher's interest in darker, longer, uncut things. Because Joel liked, I hear Joel liked those uncut things.
Maybe. No, this all started with Mark Bernardin, and he had tweeted that he had heard from someone that there was an actual 170-minute version of this 1995 film, and that Warner Brothers wasn't sure if people were interested in seeing a longer, darker version of this film. Now, it mainly is going to be a lot more Riddler and a few other longer segments from the film. But
yeah, I mean, if you've got 170, I mean, that's 3 hours of movie.
Yeah.
So it what they're talking about here, but it seems to me like this is a fishing expedition by Warner Brothers or AT&T that leaked this story to Variety or persuaded them the way they've been persuading Warner Brothers to acquiesce and do the things they were asked.
When you're slapped, you'll take it and like it.
Yeah.
They're not roughing them up at all. They're not pushing buttons. No way.
It's just a way of working. That's all it is. It's a way of
But
working.
it seems to me that this is all connected. We've got, like, you and I talked previously. You brought up HBO Max, and I think this definitely has the smell of HBO Max all over it.
Yeah, this would be something that would really play well on HBO Max. In fact, this could actually be something that would expand into a whole new mini industry from Warner Brothers and other studios if they just wanted to go into their vaults and have longer versions of more established films.
Okay.
I think a lot of people would be interested in seeing alternative takes. But for this particular movie, there's a special resonance because superheroes and comic book films are all the rage right now. And this is one of the films that helped to get us to where we are now. So
how do you feel? I mean, the article goes into it that it exists, but we don't know what state of existence it's in because it's been sitting around for 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
Film sitting around for 25 years can sometimes deteriorate, and they would have to put a lot of effort and work into cleaning it up.
Not as much as you may think. Some color grading with some of the scenes that weren't originally a part of the film for the most part. There's not as much work as, say, Zack Snyder's Justice League or a lot of other movies. In fact, this would be a film that I think with a little color correction and a little bit of tweaking here and there, you could have this thing ready to go by next year. So,
well, this is a good moment where we can segue into basically talking about the production. So, Tim Burton was originally supposed to shoot the next Batman, and McDonald's got pissed because the toys sucked from Batman Returns.
Yeah.
And so he was very gently released by Warner Brothers from his directing duties. and they sought out this other director named Joel Schumacher.
Yeah,
So-
that had been part of the recommendation from Keaton. I mean, not Keaton, but from Tim Burton. Burton was still kept on as a producer, and the story had was kind of one that they had been developing and ended up developing for quite a while with Michael Keaton's participation, under the understanding that he would be in the movie. And, you know, he had some initial differences about what story they would be telling. And Michael Keaton's original idea was to be closer to Batman Year One, whereas the studio had a different idea. Keaton was wanting to go darker, explore more of the Bruce Wayne side of things.
Right.
And Warner Brothers felt a little differently. And they kind of sort of split the difference with the script that kind of included a lot of those ideas, because for this movie, they actually do spend a lot more time on Bruce Wayne, unlike in previous movies. But,
so what was it that caused him to step away?
Well, ultimately, I think Michael Keaton, as he said before, just got burned out. You know, the original version of this movie would have had Bruce Wayne, Michelle Pfeiffer returning as Selena Kyle, Billy D. Williams as eventually becoming Two-Face, and Marlon Wayans eventually becoming Robin. And that's the other thing about this movie that not many people know. Marlon Wayans was actually fitted. They had the uniform. They had the whole 9 yards with him.
I heard about that.
Even though he never appears in the movie, he still gets a percentage of this movie as part of what they used to pay him off for not. Basically, he got paid to not participate.
Yeah, because once Michael Keaton stepped away, they just basically recast the whole thing.
Yeah.
And this is where we came in with Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey.
Mm-hmm.
And it just became a whole different animal. And at that point, I guess we should segue into Tommy Lee Jones. So, Keith, tell me, what upset Tommy Lee Jones?
Well, the fact that the script that he had been presented in order to do this movie became different over time. And what was initially meant to be a kind of tour de force, over the top portrayal of Two-Face eventually became kind of like it just became something to where Tommy Lee had to fight the urge not to punch Jim Carrey every day because
He did not like him.
Carrey is more of an improv actor, whereas Tommy Lee Jones at that time was more of someone who would read the script, commit to the lines, and basically, you know, you memorize, you go shoot what they have. But because Carrey was this new rising star, Warner Brothers and the producers were more inclined to give him a lot of leeway and a lot of takes, and that really pissed off Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, it's like I've heard this story about from Jim Carrey in an interview about how he saw Tommy Lee at dinner, and he walked over, and Tommy was just like, "I don't like you, but I feel bad for you." And
yeah,
it's devastating for poor Jim Carrey, who wants everybody's approval.
yes,
you know? And he's one of those people that just, if I don't have approval, well, I feel bad about me. So, which segues into the next part of this. Jim Carrey replacing Robin Williams.
Yeah, that's the thing. Robin Williams was very specific about what he wanted to do with this film. And basically what it came down to is Robin Williams' take on the Riddler was to basically do a long impersonation of actor Frank Gorshin from the '60s series. And the producers and Warner Brothers didn't like that idea, but Robin was very committed to it. He wanted to do it, and ultimately they had to part ways, and that let the door open for.
Idea. It was a bad idea.
Yeah, it was. It was a bad idea.
Else, but that's interesting because Jim Carrey comes in and he I got to be honest, he really went over the top with that character. It did not age well. When we watch it today, it's so over the top. I can barely stomach. It's Zoe's favorite two Batman films is Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. She loves those movies, and both films just goofy over the top shit. Whereas I almost walked out of the Batman and Robin one, because we'll get into that in the next segment. But Jim Carrey, on the other hand, he came at this. He's very heavy-handed, ham-fisted. That guy could not, underact or just act. He always overacts, as Swoosie Kurtz once said in an outtake from Liar Liar, where she called him an overactor.
Well, but that's what made him popular, because you got to remember, In Living Color made him a household name, and he was already known as someone who could assume any particular type of character and make his body and face just do anything. He was like a rubber band man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of his comedy things was called Rubber Face, and because he's very animated. And he comes in and there are certain elements that he brought into it that I actually did like, but it's the overacting that just sort of took away from everything. Because he's literally stealing the scene from anybody else in the shot, and you don't want to be that kind of actor. And I'm sure a lot of people were annoyed by that on the set. I'm sure some of the people were like laughing because it was funny, but some of the actors are like, I actually have lines here. Nobody's even going to notice I'm in this scene, but once again, that's Jim Carrey. He's a very animated individual, and in my opinion, hurt the film more than he helped it. He may have helped it financially at first, but it did so much damage that, well, we know the legacy now, and he's part of that. But now let's get into something else here that I think you have some really good opinions on, which is, of course, Joel Schumacher and the decisions he made. Joel Schumacher.
Yes, the man who directed Falling Down, The Lost Boys, Flatliners, the original, and of course, The Client. And this was
A Time for Killing too, didn't he? Didn't he direct that?
I think so, and I also think he worked
Sam
on.
Jackson.
Yeah.
Killed him. Not do it again.
The thing about Joel Schumacher is that I can see why he got this particular assignment. I can see why they thought he would be good for this.
Right.
But much like Jim Carrey, I think certain parts of it he just went a little bit too far with. And that didn't really help the long-term viability of this movie. Now, I did not know personally what Joel Schumacher's personal life was. And I've heard that since he passed away, things have started coming out, especially his sexual conquest list, or at least numbers, which I think it's right at 5,000, maybe more, 10,000 people supposedly that he slept with, which is still mind-boggling to me. But it would also make a lot of.
A basketball player who released a list like that.
Classic that would. Yeah, well,
you know what I'm talking about. It's like, it's like, why would
it's Hollywood, but that really helps to explain some of the choices made with this film when it comes to a lot of the scenes and stuff involving
The
Two-Face.
excessive use of nipples and
Oh,
cod
yeah.
pieces
Yes.
and just the over-the-top makeup and everything with
Yeah.
Tommy
Yeah,
Lee's character. Because we talked previously about that shit. Because like it was just that wasn't Two-Face. You know,
Yeah.
it didn't come off as Two-Face. In fact, for me, psychologically, he was thousands of miles away from who Two-Face was. You know, because Two-Face was a psychologically scarred individual, whereas Joel made him into like this very superficial character that was all about what's on the face and shit. Well, you know, he basically, you know, made decisions that and choices in the making of the film that in the end, and I'm not even just talking about the campiness of it, because it wasn't campy like even the original Batman series was. This was more just cartoony and dumb. The whole Batmobile climbing the wall thing just annoyed me. I hated Two-Face. Love Tommy Lee Jones. I hated Two-Face in that film.
Some decisions to make and did make some impressions on the script. I think a lot in the series. And so with Tim Burton not being there, with Michael Keaton not being there, they had to do whatever they could to put butts in seats, but especially to have that. Would you see something like this?
I would. I have actually not watched. That's Keith.
And that's Gerry.
And this is Pop Culture Minefield, and we're out of here.
Hey guys, thanks for watching Pop Culture Minefield. If you've enjoyed the show, please remember to like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell icon. Remember, you can find us at Pop Culture Minefield on both Facebook and Instagram. Thank you again.